Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a seriously fascinating leap past the current limits of artificial intelligence, and we're stepping into what might honestly be a groundbreaking new paradigm for human intelligence. We are moving way beyond the trap of AI approximation and exploring the actual underlying architecture of meaning itself. If you've ever used an AI and felt like it's just echoing back what we already know, you are definitely not alone. We're going to unpack exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how we might finally break free. Let's get into it. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the AI Approximation Trap, then look at passing the Einstein Test, explore something called the notation inversion, see how that builds the semiotic web, and finally, we'll arrive at the comprehension economy. Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the AI Approximation Trap. This is where we start reaching the absolute limits of pattern matching. So, we're all constantly amazed by advanced tools like Google Notebook LM, right? I mean, they are incredibly powerful. They can synthesize massive amounts of data and turn these huge mountains of documents into really focused, digestible knowledge. But there is a catch. They calculate the best combinations through flawless pattern recognition. It's kind of like perfectly placing puzzle pieces that already exist. They're absolute masters of what is. But we tend to make this mistake of believing that true emergent intelligence, like the spark of a brand new idea, comes from just combining those existing patterns. The reality? The most powerful archive system in the world holds zero actual intelligence. It literally only reflects the patterns it's already seen. And that brings us to a massive AI buzzword, hallucination. Usually, we just brush this off as a simple bug, something they'll patch in the next software update. But really, we need to reframe this. It is a deep, structural trap. The current paradigm has essentially hit a wall because the knowledge inside these AI models is completely frozen at the exact time of their training. They live in these isolated, private data silos, and they completely lack a shared, verifiable language for meaning. So what happens when they don't know something? They just approximate. And that approximation trap, that is exactly what we call a hallucination. Moving right along to Section 2, passing the Einstein Test. Here, we're looking at the uncomputable nature of human intuition. This brings us to a profound question, one that honestly just makes you step back in awe of the human mind. How do we capture true creative intelligence? Because if machines are just matching patterns of things that have already been thought of, what does it actually take to break out of that trap? I mean, think about Albert Einstein discovering general relativity. That was not just a recalculation of existing physics data. No way. It was a completely new leap. What is that spark required to make that leap? And why can't a machine do it? Well, what's really interesting here is the answer lies in this powerful, albeit slightly obscure concept called bissociation. True creative intelligence is totally orthogonal to standard AI pattern matching. Bissociation means breaking the frame entirely. It's the act of discovering a fully new path, a conceptual connection that literally no one has ever mapped or taken before. These newly discovered links are what we can call obscure features. They don't come from data archives. They come from pure human intuition. And that brilliant moment of intuition, it is entirely uncomputable by machines. To ground this dense theory in something a bit more relatable, just think about the classic shower thought. We have all had them. You know, that sudden, genius private moment of pre-verbal intuition where everything just clicks. But here is the tragedy of the shower thought. It usually stays completely confidential. It just remains trapped inside your head because our everyday language is a lossy medium. It simply cannot transmit the exact high-fidelity information needed to fully encode your real-life understanding. So your brilliant intuition is basically stuck until it gets exchanged, confronted, and validated through real-world friction. All right, let's ramp the energy up for Section 3, the notation inversion. We are literally flipping the architecture of meaning. So, to fix this lossy language problem, we need a massive mathematical shift. We essentially have to flip the entire architecture on its head. Right now, AI forces us to calculate all possible interactions just to guess at the meaning. That's step 1, the interaction to sign model. It's chaotic. It's like trying to make sense of this massive swirling pile of random symbols. But step 2 is the notation inversion, moving from sign to interaction. Just imagine those chaotic symbols suddenly snapping together into clean, labeled, interlocking Lego bricks. By attributing a deterministic identity to every single parameter of the system right from the start, we unlock entirely new mathematics that leave all that guesswork behind. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, building the semiotic web. Think of this as the TCP/IP for meaning. This mathematical shift forms the very foundation of the semiotic web.
And the crucial point here is that this isn't just another commercial app or product. It is a foundational protocol. It is to meaning exactly what TCP/IP is to internet data. And we're getting highly deterministic here. The core building block of this new web, its fundamental atomic unit, is called the token.
But, for every single token to actually be found, both universally and locally, it needs an address. That is the canonical concept identity, or CCI. It's a mathematically discoverable cryptographic address. Now, why does this matter to us? Because the CCI allows for deterministic key lookups. It finally replaces that fuzzy AI approximation with cold, hard computation. If a system on the semiotic web cannot resolve a query to a valid token key, it doesn't guess, and it certainly doesn't hallucinate. It just returns an explicit, unknown signal. By design, hallucinations become structurally impossible.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the comprehension economy. This is where we amplify and protect human genius. Because this semiotic web resolves all these system incompatibilities across the internet, we can finally exchange pure meaning seamlessly. Just think about the old model for a second. You had restrictive patents, siloed data storage, and you often had to wait for these isolated deep dives just to generate new knowledge. Now, contrast that with the comprehension economy. This introduces a mindshare matrix marketplace. Think of it essentially as an app store for deterministic meaning. Those private, obscure features we talked about, your shower thoughts, they can now be instantly valued, cryptographically controlled for absolute safety and IP protection, and made automatically available to anyone with a compatible need.
And the best part? You don't have to manually manage all these connections yourself. This new architecture relies heavily on holons. These are autonomous agents that interact, much like cells in a human nervous system. They do all the heavy lifting, handling group adoption, ensuring independent validation, and maintaining the homeostatic balance of the entire ecosystem. Listen, we no longer have to wait for one singular genius to shout their discovery from a mountaintop. These holons autonomously combine our individual insights to derive complex new knowledge, massively accelerating true intelligence while protecting every single contributor. By providing a shared, verifiable language for meaning, the private, powerful spark of human genius actually becomes the very fuel for a boundless, balanced collective intelligence. The foundation is complete. The acceleration has officially begun. So I leave you with this provocative thought. If human genius now fuels collective intelligence, what will your obscure feature be? Think about it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.